you're new here, if this is like your first, second, third class, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're a liar, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, awesome. We have a lot.
I'm definitely new.
Okay, desktopy.
For like 7 months.
Okay, no worries. So thank you all for coming. To all our newcomers, if you guys who've been here before want to turn to your right, turn to your left, and just give a big old welcome. You could sign it like this, welcome, like you're inviting them to a hug. Just say welcome. Really great to see you all.
Welcome.
So for some rules for those of you guys who don't know, and just a little bit of a refresher for you guys who do know, I do ask that you just keep your microphone off for the majority of the class. And it's not that I don't want to hear your lovely voices. I love it when you guys jump in on questions. So if I say, like, who wants to answer this, feel free to turn on your microphone. Or if you want to ask a question and I call on you, feel free to say anything. But just during when other students are talking, I want to make sure that we're having our mics muted just because it's such a small space. So sometimes even if you're not trying to talk, like if I'm just eating some chips or drinking some water, everyone can hear like nom, 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 nom. So it's just a bit distracting for some folks, and we want to be respectful for that. So you're not in trouble or anything, but we just try and keep our mics muted. And then another thing, just for respect, if you do have a question, I just really appreciate it if you could raise your hand, because just like it's a little bit distracting for people to talk, it's actually really disruptive and distracting for me if you just kind of jump in on me, and I'm really easily distracted. So just for my own peace of mind and ability, I really appreciate it when you guys raise your hands. Unless, like I said, if I say like, oh, who wants to answer this, then you guys could totally yell out. I love that, but just don't be like, and then, you know, just be respectful to everyone. I always say, like, there's no such thing as a stupid question. So I really do not want to hear things like, oh, that's such a silly mistake, or that's such a stupid question to ask, or like, how do you not know that? Like, we're all at different levels and we're all learning in different ways, and it's never nice to bring somebody down because they're at a different level than you. It's all about coming together and supporting each other and helping each and every one of us learn in our own ways. So never hesitate to ask a question. If it does come off rude in any way, like, we'll all let you know in a very respectful way, but like, make sure we're not saying things like, oh, you're so silly, you're so stupid, you know. And then also on the line of respect, we're just going to make sure that we're aware. A lot of you guys don't know. I kind of will go over this later, but sign language has so many different variations in America, which is what we're learning today, ASL. So, for example, I live on the West Coast, and Starbun, who's with us today, lives on the East Coast. So I'm going to sign things very differently than Starbun does just because he's on the East and I'm on the West. It doesn't mean that I'm right and he's wrong or vice versa. It just means that we're signed differently. Same with DM and Zaid and everyone here. So we're never going to use words like, you know, oh, well, that's wrong because DM signs it this way, and that's how I learned. It's just different. So never be afraid to ask questions about variations. Sometimes there's a sign variation that I don't know. So it's really great if we could all learn it together and learn different dialects. That's like part of the fun. And yeah, I think the last thing I want to say is if we could just use optimized avatars, just because this is a fairly size class, so I'm not going to tell everyone to change, but if you have an optimized avatar readily available to you, that'd be really awesome if you could change. And for those of you who are on Quest or have quite a slow PC, if you want to come to the front, that might help your frames a bit. And if you're struggling with any lag or anything, just try and change your safety. And Dreadnought right here has a really nice optimized avatar if you'd like to copy that, but no pressure, just because we do have a smaller amount of people. So if you'd like to stay where you are, that's great. But if you feel like changing, that'd be awesome too. So yeah, no, we're not going to go over this lesson. So yeah, today we're going to go over some deaf culture, some slang, and just some little things that I find a lot of people don't know, or maybe I see common questions about. Because when you're first really like jumping into interacting with deaf and hard of hearing people, it could kind of be a little overwhelming, especially if you've lived your whole life with never meeting a deaf person. I've definitely come into contact with people who are like, whoa! So it's confusing, and it's really great to be able to have an open environment where we can discuss a bunch of questions and learn some cool slang as well, so you can be like one of the cool kids. So I think the first thing I want to go over is just some, okay, can somebody tell me how to spell etiquette? because I want to write it down and I don't know how to spell it. Does anyone know how to spell etiquette? And would like to tell me.
So I can't do much.
Okay, same. So, bit of a struggle. I can ask Siri. Oh, okay, you do know. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna follow your lead. I hope you're not leading me the wrong way. E. T or D? T. Okay. I was gonna put D, so I'm on the wrong track. Ed. Uh-huh. Ed a P. Oh, you mean Q? Okay. I'm like, I don't think that's right. And then U, I assume. Q-U, E. And then is it T-T-E? Oh, just one T. Two T's. Oh, kinda. Well, you guys can understand what this is. Thank you for your help. Etiquette. I'm pretty sure this is wrong, but etiquette. Sorry.
I could search it up.
No, that's it.
Give me a second.
It's fine. Basically, the word that means, like, what is nice and what is not nice, what is accepted and what is not accepted, just ways that you can make sure that we're being respectful. So etiquette, deaf etiquette is what I want to talk about today. So I don't know, what I want to do is we're just going to go ahead and open up to... I just want to hear your guys' suggestions, so you can go ahead and turn on your mics. What do you think are some good examples of how we can make sure that deaf people feel included and respected and we're not being rude? What are some examples that you can think of? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not jumping over a conversation in a rude way. Yes, yes. So that's a really good point. I think that's a good way to start. So if two people are having a conversation, I think it's awesome that you can watch that. So it's totally cool. In deaf culture, it's really common and totally fine for two people to be having a conversation and for another person to just be standing there and watching. That's totally fine. If you go and you see some deaf people just having, the time of their life, signing so fast, and you really want to watch to maybe catch a few vocabulary words, that's totally fine. And it's awesome and a really great way to learn. I'd say the only time that it'd be rude is if they're having a private conversation. And the way you can tell is like their body language and where they are. So if I'm in a public, oh, there goes my foot. If I'm in a public room in a large space and I'm signing really big and I'm showing with my body that I'm signing in a big way, I'm pretty confident that I'm comfortable with other people seeing my conversation. But if I'm going to a private corner of the room, one-on-one, and I'm just signing very small with my friend and just saying my own private thing, it's probably a good guess that they want to be left alone and have their own private conversation. It's very much the same thing with a verbal conversation. If you see somebody yelling in a room about their life story, then they're probably okay with you listening in. But if they're going to a private room, then it's fine. That's not fine, excuse me. So I think it's really great for people to know that most of the time it's totally okay to just sit and watch and take in this information. That's why ASL Club is a really cool place for you just to jump in and see some signs. But as Void was saying, in some cases, sorry, my feet are not tracking well. It isn't nice to watch and just kind of jump over people. So you wouldn't want to just come into somebody's conversation and start talking on top of them and signing on top of them when they're not done, or doing something along those lines, which I know sounds like common sense, but you'd be surprised. So I think just using your brain and making sure that you're being respectful. But also a weird thing that kind of has to go with that is if you see two people having a conversation and they're facing each other like this and they're talking, I want you to raise of hands who thinks it would be rude to walk in between them. So here's the two people talking and you're cutting their line of sight and you're walking right in front of them as they're talking to each other. Yeah, so I'd say that's a good 25 to 50% of our class. A really interesting part of deaf culture, totally not rude. You're totally fine to do that, and deaf people do it all the time. I'm not sure where this stemmed, but I think it's the best way I can describe the feeling is like you're immersed in the entire conversation, and so you're paying attention so much that it doesn't really matter if somebody breaks the line of sight for 2 seconds, because you're only just walking through really quickly. You're going to walk through them and it's done. And most of the time they're not going to miss a sign. And if they did, they can piece it together. So if you're going to walk through in front of somebody, just go for it. Just don't do this. Like, just stand right in front of them and block them with your body. Maybe don't do that. But walking through somebody's conversation is totally acceptable. And it's actually just a part of deaf culture, which a lot of people don't know about. So great first suggestion. Is there any other suggestions that somebody wants to say on an idea of deaf etiquette? Yeah.
I'm hard of hearing.
Okay, I'll take Code and then Cosmic. Sorry. Go ahead.
Talking about hard of hearing people, people coming in and screaming over people that are hard of hearing it goes with hand in hand. ASL is yelling over people that are hard of hearing makes it hard to communicate with other people.
Yeah, that's a really good point, especially because just like deafness, hard of hearingness is a spectrum, which means there's some people where loud noises could actually be really damaging to their eardrums. So it's really great to be conscious and aware of not, screaming at people. Also, people with hearing aids and cochlear implants, like really sudden loud noises could be actually damaging. So it's really important, if you know that you're in a space with a lot of deaf and hard of hearing people, just to be aware of the noise volume, or maybe asking first if it's okay to play some loud music, or to scream something, just asking, and if they say no, just respecting that. So that's a really good point. I'm really glad you brought that up. Cosmic, what were you going to say?
Yes, so first of all, apologies if you hear any background noise. I'm in house with a cranky baby. I think there's a couple new people here, and some of them might not know how to approach a deaf person or like get their attention respectfully, like tapping their shoulder or just any way to get their attention in general. So anyone who might not know, how would you do that?
Yes, that's awesome. I wanted to go over that next. So some ways to get deaf people's attention in real life. It's kind of different than in VR because sadly we don't have Ready Player One full body haptic suits where a very beautiful actress can touch our body and ask, can you feel that? Instead, we have waving. So in VR particularly, waving is a perfect way to get somebody's attention. A lot of my friends like to call this the deaf wave, which is like this. Looks like instead of a side-to-side motion, you're going up and down. And this directly translates in English to hey, hey. So you're like, hey, I have something to say to you. Hey. You could also wave like this. Hey. Just waving your hand, as simple as that. I'd say the only rule or only thing to be aware of with this is not to do, like, if somebody's right here, I'm not going to actually go into their face. I'm not going to put my hand in their face and interrupt them. You want to still be respectful. So maybe just on the side and waving your hand politely. The only time you would want to get up in somebody's face and really get their attention is if it's something like an emergency or they need to know very quickly, everyone else is leaving and they need to know right away. But 99% of the time, you never want to invade somebody's personal bubble, of course. So waving is a really great way to get a deaf person's attention in VR. But when it comes to real life, as Cosmic said, you can also tap somebody on the shoulder. Or on their back, or sometimes on the back of their head if you can't do anything else. But tapping isn't rude, and it's the best way to get somebody's attention. But maybe you're too far away. I can't reach them. They're so far away. I can't tap their shoulder. So some other ways you can get their attention in real life is by stomping on the ground. Or if you have a table, is hitting the table, because they're going to feel those vibrations, and it's almost like an alarm clock that they can turn around to. So if you ever go to a deaf meetup in real life, you better be ready to hear some stomping or some hitting or some banging of tables, shaking of tables, and don't be alarmed. Nobody's mad. They're just trying to get somebody's attention who's looking away. So yeah, it's super common for deaf people to be jumping or stomping or shaking tables and chairs. And another way that you can get somebody's attention if it's a large group setting is you could actually flick on and off the lights. Because imagine if you're sitting and looking whatever and you all of a sudden see the lights doing like this, what are you going to do? You're going to look around and say, whoa, what's that? So turning on and off the lights is a great way to get a group attention. And I'm planning one day to have like a VR chat world to be like, this is all the ways to get attentions, and like, I don't know, Udon, like program it so you can like tap people's shoulders and things, or like have it so it vibrates your controllers, or like have an on and off light switch. I think that'd be so cool. I think number one rule on how to not get deaf people's attention is, like we said earlier, we never want to scream at deaf people. We never want to like yell across the entire room, hey! We also never want to throw things at deaf people. You're trying to shake the table and they can't feel the vibrations. Just get up out of your seat, walk over to them and tap them again. You never want to throw something. And again, I know that sounds like very common sense, but you'd be surprised how many deaf and hard of hearing people get stuff thrown at them. So we never, never, never want to throw something at a deaf or hard of hearing person. So yeah, that's really great. But yeah, when it comes to VR, really the only thing we could do is wave our hands. But there are some deaf people who have programmed a way for the shoulder tap to like show up on their screen, which is really cool. So yeah, hopefully one day the shoulder tap will be like a fully integrated VR chat feature. I don't know. That'd be awesome. You were jumping. Did you want to have a suggestion, or were you just getting your jumps out? Just jumps? Okay, cool. No worries. Yeah, does anyone else have any suggestions on how they think we can help with deaf etiquette? Or I can go ahead and take over and just list some others I had in mind. Yes, what's up?
I would say don't be apologetic about them being deaf or hard of hearing.
Yes, that's a great one that I was going to say right after. Yeah, so when we meet deaf and hard of hearing people, some phrases that we don't want to say is, oh, I am so sorry that you're deaf. That is so hard. If I was deaf, I don't know what I'd do, man. I'm so sorry. Or same with, I really hope you get better. I really hope. I will hope that the doctors find you a cure soon. I'm so sorry. That must suck. And of course, I'm sure all these people mean well, and that's a really wonderful idea to try and express your compassion for people, but it ends up coming off a bit rude. It's just how we live our lives, and it's totally fine and normal. It's like if somebody, who here has glasses? Does anyone here wear prescription glasses? Yep. How would you feel if somebody came up to you and was like, oh, you have to wear glasses. Oh, I'm so sorry for you. Please, take my lunch, please.
I'd probably just laugh at them.
Yes. So it's the same thing, right? You would laugh. You're like, I'm totally fine. I don't care that I wear glasses. Or, you wouldn't tell somebody, I'm so sorry that you have two hands. I'm so sorry that you have to wear shoes. I'm so sorry you have short hair. All these little silly things we would never say sorry for. It's the same thing with deafness and hard of hearing. If somebody, however, is telling you, if somebody's sitting down with you and having a private conversation and saying, you know what, I'm actually been really struggling lately. People have been hurting me because of my deafness and whatever. Like, I'm having a hard time accepting this part of me. Maybe you could say like, well, I'm really sorry you're going through that, or like, how can I help you feel better? But most of the time, we're never going to pity somebody because of their condition. And honestly, that's with anything in life. I think most cases, you shouldn't tell somebody that you're sorry for the way that their body is. But again, this is maybe something that you all knew, but you'd be surprised. And also, if you have said this before to a deaf or hard of hearing person, don't feel bad. You're not evil. You're not a horrible person. I don't want to say this to make you feel hurt. Learning is all about making mistakes and then moving on. So don't feel bad if you've ever said this. It's totally understandable, and it's a very common thing to say. So I don't want anyone who said this before to be like, oh no. It's totally okay. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Does anyone else have any deaf etiquette suggestions that they had in mind that we can talk about? Yeah, what's up?
I have a question. When you're
Yeah.
singing to a deaf person, does it help if you mouth out the words?
Sorry, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say when you're signing with a deaf person, does it help if you're mouthing the words at the same time? Is that what you said? Oh, perfect. Okay. I'd say yes. And also, sign language just has a lot to do with mouth movements, which is why I'm so excited that the facial tracker has come out for VR. It's really amazing that VR Chat supports this because sign language goes hand in hand with facial movements. So, a really good example is, does anyone know the sign for hungry? Does anyone know how to sign hungry if you're feeling hungry? Yes, awesome. Love the vocab. Okay, so hungry, for those of you who don't know, is a C hand. Do C hand. Take the hand to your chest and then pull down to your tummy like your throat is empty and it's just going down to the pit of your empty stomach. You're so hungry. And then guess what? It is the same exact sign as wish, as in I wish for a puppy, I wish for a car. You're gonna sign that same sign. You have your heart, you have C hand with your heart, and you're wishing for something, so your heart is so heavy that it's going down. And they're the same hand movements, but what's different is in real life, when I sign hungry, I'm gonna make that mouth shape. I'm gonna go ha, ha. So I'm making an open mouth. I'm going hungry, hungry. But when I'm signing wish, I'm going wish, shh. So I'm showing that SH mouth movement, and that's the only difference. Of course, context as well. You're not going to say, oh, I'm really hungry for a car. I really want a car, right? No, you're saying you wish for a car. So context is a really big part of it. But when it comes to the actual sign itself, the only difference is the mouth shape. So yes, it's super important in real life to be using your mouth at the same time. And it's also good for your learning because you're probably going to remember the sign if you're mouthing the word. So if I'm saying like mom, mom, and I have to remember, wait, is this one mom or is this one mom? Oh, no, I remember this one is mom because I feel mom on my lips and I'm saying it and I'm feeling the hand on my chin. It's just going to help you and it's going to help the deaf and hard of hearing people around you understand you. So yes, 100%, that is a really great thing to do. And also I cannot wait for facial tracking. It's going to be so cool. I can't wait to teach a class and just be like blah, 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 and just moving my mouth and my face the whole time. So yeah, great question. Does anyone else want to have a suggestion on any sort of deaf etiquette rules or anything? Is that a hand? Yes. Yeah, you have a question? Sure. Oh, can you actually move your camera up a little bit? Your little name tag on your camera just was covering your hands there. Sorry. Thank you. With COVID, yeah. 6 feet apart. With tapping the shoulder with COVID, you mean? Like, do you think that's still a safe thing to do? Yeah, so that's a really great question. So when COVID really started being a thing, it was actually a really big moment for at least my personal deaf community, and I'm very sure a lot of other ones, just because in general deaf people are very touchy. We love to hug each other, we love to hold each other's hands, high five, touch each other's faces. Like it's just great. We love touching. So when COVID came out, it was kind of this big slap in the face because not only did we have to be apart from people that deaf people are already very isolated and a lot of the time. Now we weren't allowed to touch each other without a safety risk. And personally, my deaf community in my hometown, which I can speak to, just went completely online. Our deaf socials were completely canceled. Everybody moved to Zoom immediately. So I didn't really have a lot of experience at the beginning of the pandemic with COVID regulations. I went to one deaf meetup right before it went fully online, and everyone was still hugging and tapping on shoulders, and about half the people got COVID. So that was a wrong decision. But I'd say, and then most of my experience during the pandemic has been in VR where it doesn't matter. But I'd say most of the time, I think we would just change to more stomping and tables, but also I think Like, if you're already talking to somebody in front of them and you have a mask on, tapping on the shoulder is fine as long as you're, like, being aware of it. Like, it's not like you're touching their face or you're like licking your hand and like shoving it in their face. So I think it's mostly okay. But my personal experience, I actually can't really speak to that just because my hometown's community just went completely on Zoom after one meetup. And I actually haven't been able to interact with them since. So personally, I can't really speak on that, but that's a really good point. Maybe all deaf people should just get VR and then we could just chill out here together. That's the utopia, right? But yeah, I mean, I think that's something that we all got to work together to find a good middle ground. Yeah, great question. Does anyone else have any questions or comments about anything about deaf etiquette? No dumb questions? Yeah, is that a question or are you just like dancing it out? Okay.
No. So kind of back to the etiquette thing again with new people. Some of them might not know what are acceptable questions to ask, what might be rude. So if could we get like a good example for that for anyone who might not know?
Well, like I said, I wouldn't say there's any questions that I would ever be afraid of asking, and I think that really depends on the person. There's some people who are super open and super comfortable talking about whatever, and there's people who are a lot more shy and maybe more private. So I think that really just depends on the person. I wouldn't say any question in particular is like a off the table sort of thing. I think one question people often wonder about is it rude to ask a deaf person, like, how did you become deaf? Or, like, were you born deaf? Or did an accident happen? Same with hard of hearing people. And I'd say it's a really 50-50 situation. And I'd say it's just the same with, like, getting to know anyone. I wouldn't walk up to somebody and be like, so, how'd you lose your hearing? Like, tell me your life story. I'd really love to hear it. I think that's just a bit much. But if you're talking with somebody and you're on the topic of deafness and you come to the question with a very respectful manner and you're not doing it just to be rude, you're doing it to learn more about this person and create a closer relationship and you have a genuine good intention, I say that's completely fine. But like I said, I don't want to give you like a rule and say that all deaf people will be so comfortable with this because, of course, I can't say all deaf people because everyone is an individual and has different comfort levels. But I'd say as long as you have a good, genuine intention with any question, if they do get upset, you could just be like, you know what, I'm sorry, that was out of line and I didn't know. And that goes with any person. That goes with hearing people and mute people, hard of hearing people, teachers, students, your coworkers, your boss, whatever. I think my life rule is as long as you have a real good intention, you'll be fine. And if something does go wrong, you could just explain like, okay, I didn't know that. Thanks for educating me. Because at the end of the day, like, nobody knows everything. And it's totally fair to ask silly questions sometimes. You know what, like, I've definitely done some silly things in the past and said some things that I regret or wish I didn't say, but if I'm honest that I didn't know it was rude and say sorry, then, you know, if somebody judges me for that, then I think they're the rude one. So I'd say, honestly, just have a good intention, and I wouldn't avoid any questions in particular. But if you sit down before you ask it and you're like, this might be rude, then maybe just ask yourself if it's worth it. Because if you're questioning it, then there might be a chance that it is in fact rude. But yeah, that's just a rule of thumb with anyone, I'd say. Any other things, or we can move on to some cool, fun sign slang. Yeah.
What is the most polite way to, you'd say somebody that is hard of hearing or signing, what is the best way to ask them to sign slower, or, you know, if they're hard of hearing and speaking? What is the best way to ask them to, communicate? Yeah,
I think that's a great question. I'd say genuinely just saying, like, please sign slower, or please speak slower if it's a speaking thing. The sign for slow is just like touching your arm with an open hand, going slowly up. I think about this as like, have you ever had like a massage and they're not like hard massaging you, but they're just like really lightly like pressing their fingertips on your skin? It's like a very lovely experience. So I just imagine like Slow, lovely, so nice for somebody to touch my skin. So yeah, if you just say like sign slow, please, there's totally nothing wrong with that. And same thing if you're a hard of hearing person and somebody's speaking super duper fast, I don't think it's rude to just be like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm hard of hearing. Can you please just slow down? I'm having a hard time understanding you. I have never met a deaf person personally who is upset with somebody saying, can you slow down? It is totally understandable. And it's the same with all languages. English is a hard language to speak. French is a hard language to speak. You know, any language is difficult, and it's totally understandable to be like, yo, I am learning. You need to slow down. You are like 10 levels above me. I'm down here. You are up here. Let's slow down. So yeah, I think just genuinely being honest. I think the worst thing you can do is just pretend that you understand. It is so bad for you to just stand there and be like, when you don't understand. If it's going over your head, tell them. Like, they would much rather have you be honest and say, I'm actually not understanding, because otherwise they're just telling you this story and you're like, and you're not listening. Like, that's what's rude, is if you don't say it. So always say it. Always be kind and just explain, you know what? I'm sorry, I don't understand. You need to slow down. So yeah, don't understand is like this. Don't understand, slow down, please. Slow. Yeah, that's a really great question. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we move on to some slang? Oh, excuse me, hold on. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, cool.
Bless you.
Thank you. Alright, I'm gonna clear this, my terribly worded etiquette. And then just to write this down so people know. So how about we play a little game? For those of you who know the answers, I would appreciate it if you keep it to yourself. But I will show you a sign slang, and you try and guess what it means, alright? And if you guys don't feel like doing that, I'll just explain. But yeah, so who's down for that? Is this like a very social class? Are you guys excited for a guessing game, or are you passing? Okay, I have a few extroverts saying yes. Okay, so here's the first one. This is a slang sign. I'm going to show it to you. It doesn't have a direct English translation, but tell me what you think this means. Are you ready? I'm doing it over and over for you. Yeah, Yuri? Are you still thinking? Sorry, did I catch you at a bad time? Wait, sorry, B-U-Z-Z? Or was that S-S? Oh, could you repeat that? I'm sorry, I thought that was an S. B-U... Buzzkill. Oh, that's a great guess. There's another slang I'll show which is very similar to that. But no, this is not buzzkill. That's a very, very good guess, though. Does anyone else want to take a guess on what this could mean? Well, okay, I can give a hint. Who can tell me what this sign means? This is an actual just sign. In real life, my fingers would be kind of touching on top of each other. Who can tell me what this means? Yeah, Merc? Oh, really close. So soon is actually when my fingers are like this. That's soon. But when my fingers are like this means... You want to take a guess, Dreadnought? Sit. Oh, sit is like this. Another great guess. So this means train. Like a choo-choo train. This means train. So this is the tracks, and this is the train on top of the station. On top of the tracks, excuse me. So then watch, I have my train, and then the train... What could that mean? What could that mean? I could just tell you if you're done guessing. Yeah? Yes! Awesome! The communication, the conversation has ended. The train has left the station. It's like if two people are talking, they're having a good time, then somebody comes in and they're like, what are you guys talking about? They're like, oh, sorry, dude, you missed the train. That train is gone. I'm not gonna sit here and explain to you what we were talking about. That train is gone. I'm really sorry. It's kind of like a nice sarcastic way of saying, I'm not gonna explain what we were talking about. You show the train, this is a sign for train, and the train leaves really quickly. train gone. So the exact English translation is train gone, but a lot of people would interpret that as the train has left the station, or you could also say you missed the train. You missed the train. Sorry, you haven't gotten on this train. You missed it. And this is a way of saying like, oh, sorry, this conversation is over. Can't include you. It's a little mean, but it's one of my favorites. Okay, let me think of another good one. Okay. So here's 2 C hands, if my index would do it. 2 C hands, ready? Who wants to take a guess? Anyone feel like guessing? Even if you get it wrong. Yeah, Void, you're on the very similar vein. Do you want to take a guess, Big Brank? Yeah, can you come a little closer just because it's hard to see your avatar's fingers, sorry. Oh wait, can you start? Sorry. See? Oh, okay. The conversation is off? What do you... Okay, yeah, well, you're getting there. You're getting there. Yes, it does have to do with conversations. So those who don't know, this is conversation, or sometimes can mean communicate or communication. Yeah.
Drop the conversation?
Oh, yes. Okay, I will give it to you. It's like if 2 people are having a conversation, and then another guy comes in, and then it's like, you've totally broken this conversation. Very similar to train gone, but it's like you've interrupted. You've broken this conversation. Because this is how you say break, right? You have like a stick in your hand and you're breaking it. It's very similar. You're saying like, here's my conversation and oh, it's broken now. You've totally broken this. It's like if somebody runs up to you and then like totally interrupts you and now you've lost your train of thought. You're like, oh, thanks for breaking my conversation. I really appreciate that. So yeah, again, a little bit of more sarcastic one. But yeah, my conversation was broken. Somebody else interrupted me and now it's broken. All right, you ready for another one? Okay, so sorry, my index is acting a little funny here. I know my finger is curved, but it's supposed to be a flat hand. Let me try and fix this. Nope. Oh, there it goes. Okay, ready? Hold on, I'm trying to think of how to do this. Okay, here we go. It's on my head. Woo, there goes my headset. Who wants to guess what this means? What does this mean? Super Minimax? Yeah? If you know the answer already from a previous class, you should not answer. Give it to the students. Okay, yeah, what? Crack an egg on your head. Is that what you just said? Uh-huh. Lost. Your thought as lost? Is that what you're saying? Sorry. Your hands are so small it looks like egg. Yes, you lost your thought. Yes. So this, if I do this sign on my chest, this sign, this means disappear. Disappear. Because this sign means appear. I am appearing. Appear, you're coming in. And then disappear, you're coming out. Disappear. Disappear. So you're entering, you're appearing, you're exiting, you're disappearing. So then if I take that and I put it on my head, I'm saying my thought is disappearing. So this is how I say it's like, oh, I wanted to tell you something. And they're like, oh yeah, what is it? And I'm like, oh, I forgot. Oh my god, that thought totally just left my brain. I'm so sorry. I totally wanted to tell you something, but it's gone. It's like, in English, we say, I lost my train of thought, right? That's what it is. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. It's like that. I totally lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. The thought is gone. And it's the same thing for up here. So if you want to say, oh, I just remembered. It comes into your head. There it is. I remember now. I remember. The thought appeared. I lost it, but then it came back, and I remember it now. Appear. Thought appear. Okay, great. All right, are you ready for the hardest one? This is the hardest one, so it's totally fine if you don't get it. Okay, here we go. Ready? This one's hard. Nope, there goes my index. Hold on, let me do it again. It's numbers. 2, 5, 8. These are the numbers I'm saying here. Who wants to give a guess? This is the hardest one, and it's also a new one. I was told by a deaf teenager, and I looked so lame that I didn't know it. 2, 5, 8. 258.
Jenny?
Yeah?
Don't tell me it has to do with binary stuff.
Oh, no, no, no. Nothing to do with actual numbers. You want to take a guess, Big? Or are you just looking closer?
Up
258.
here.
When you want to fight with me? Oh, that's a really good guess, but no, not that aggressive. Yes, Code?
It means very interesting.
Yes, you got it. So who can tell me how to sign very? Who can tell me how to sign very? Very, yes. You sign 2 V hands? Very, very. So what is a V? It's a 2. Also, that hand shape is a 2. It's a 2. Right? Very. It's the same hand shape. And who can show me how to sign interesting? Who can sign interesting? Yes. Interesting is with 8 hands. You're pulling from you. Interesting. Or you can do it with 1 hand as well. Interesting. You're pulling. And I'm not going to say what this word means, but it starts with an F, and it's a very rude word, and it's like that. It's like you're kind of pushing it away. And what is the hand shape at the end? It's a 5. So you're saying very effing interesting. And it is a sarcastic way. If somebody is just going on and on and on and talking and talking and talking, you're like, 258. Yep, that is awesome. Yep, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. I'm really listening to you and I'm paying attention. It's sarcastic. I feel like most of these slangs are just sarcastic, so if you're not a sarcastic person, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was in a class with a deaf friend, and I was doing a presentation, and the whole time she was signing 258. And I was like, what? And then at the end of the class, I walked up to her, and I was like, what does that mean? She's like, oh, I was saying that you're boring. I was like, oh, thank you. So yeah, it's a bit rude, but, with your friends, it's all good. So yeah, 258, it's a bit rude, but it's cool. Kind of along that vein, I'll give you a kind of hint. I kind of almost said it when I was explaining this one. Here's the last one, unless somebody wants to give me a suggestion. You're going to have 2 fists, and then one is kind of around your neck and chin area, and then the other goes in front. Oh, no, yeah, it's more towards your chest, excuse me. And the other has in front, and then you're going to do this. Ooh. And then my facial expression in real life would be exhausted or like rolling my eyes, kind of annoyed, and I'm just pulling it away from my body. I'll show you from the side, like, ugh. You can tell me what they think that this means. Very tall. Very full. Oh, that's a really good idea, but not exactly. I wouldn't say so. Yeah, Merc, you want to give a guess? Yes, exactly, yes. So I would use this sign if somebody is just going on and on and on and on. Like, if you're saying that something took a really long time, you're like, yeah, I had to talk to my mom, and she just was going on and on and on and on about how I had to clean my room. It was so annoying. Like, you're like, yes, it just wouldn't stop. It's like I imagine it like skipping stones. And you're like seeing the stone keep going, it just won't stop. So you're just like, oh, just drag. I think the exact translation would be like drag on, if you ever heard that. It's like, oh, it's just dragging on. It's dragging on. It just won't stop. It's dragging. So this is like, oh, and it doesn't necessarily have to be rude. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be complaining. Most of the time it is, but it could just be like, oh, did you have a fine day at work? It's like, yeah, it was fine. It just really drug on. It just kept going today, but I'm fine. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be complaining. It could just be more of a fact. But yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so some other ones that I can just go over quickly without the guess. Oh yeah, sorry, did you have a question or a comment? Mm-hmm. Oh, Ray uses that sign a lot? Oh, he does, but... mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mic cord. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Oh. Oh, like... cord. Oh, like a long cord. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, it's like a long cord continuing on and on. Yeah, that helps you remember it. Yeah, I remember it like skipping stones, but if you want to think about like a cord that keeps going on, that makes a lot of sense too. That's a really good point. Some other ones that I can go over, I think it was Baka, you reminded me of a great one. And an actual slang that does exist to describe being really full. This is a sign for full, actual, just like in general, full. If you want to describe full body, a full cup, whatever. You have like a measuring cup full of flour and you say full. But if you've eat so much and you're full, you have your hand and here's your tummy and you're like, ooh, and you go all the way up to your chin. Because your tummy is so full that it goes all the way up to your mouth. You're like, oh, I'm so full. I can't eat another bite. This is a good slang to know if you've eaten so much. Full. I'm so full. I thought of another one too that I wanted to mention, but guess what? The thought has left my mind. Oh my goodness. Yeah, do you have a question or a comment? Oh, sorry. You lagged a bit for me. Is that all one word there? You're okay. Is that all one word or is that two words? Oh, okay. I. Oh, I, yeah? Or why? Are you saying why? Oh. I say that for I. Are you trying to say... Do you want to Discord me? I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of a hard time understanding. I should just have DMs open, because this is how I sign I. I'm not sure if this is a new variation of VR chat's fingerspelling that I'm just not aware of. If you could Discord me, that'd be great. I'm sorry. Does anyone else have any questions? Could be about absolutely anything at all. Does not have to be about what we talked about in class. Any questions? Yes, super. Okay, one more time. I'm so sorry. Aww. I love you. You're just saying I love it. Oh, you're talking about that. Oh man, I thought I was getting a compliment. Oh, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. I knew you were saying that. Yes, good one is Superman and Max just gave me an amazing compliment, but unrelated to that is this is how you say I love it, or this is amazing, this is awesome. You have a fist and you have the back of your fist on your mouth and you go down like this. The direct translation is kiss fist, and it literally means like you're kissing your fist. And it's like, this is the best. This is awesome. I love it. This is amazing. This is so poggers. Mwah! Mwah! I love this. And a very similar vein is champ. Champ. It's actually just a sign for champion. If you want to say somebody's the winner or the champion. You have a C hand, C for champ. You have a pointed finger to describe a person or a thing. And you go like this. It's on the top. It's champ. And this is used to describe, like, I don't know, the best thing I can think of is, like, the feeling of waking up on Christmas morning and you get all the presents that you want and you're like, yes, champ, this is the best. It's just, like, the best feeling. Like, I only use this for, like, I don't know, if somebody proposes to me or, like, I just had, like, the best day of my life. Like you just want to use this for, like, at least personally, I only use this for, like, the most incredible, amazing, best things. It's, like, champ. Like, you could also say for, like, your favorite thing. Like somebody's like, do you like this cereal or this cereal? They're like, oh, that cereal? Oh, it's the champ. It's the champion. It's just the objective best. It's the best. It's a champ. Or you're talking about a person. You're like, yeah. They're champ. All you people, you're champs. Yes. Did you Discord me? Awesome. Okay, let me just open that real quick. Sorry about that. I haven't been in VR for a while, so I kind of lose track of some new variations. Oh, Pinky! Oh, you were saying Pinky! Oh! Sorry, I'm so used to Index. Yeah, Pinky Wave from Microwave. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a really silly one. I actually have not seen somebody use that seriously. But some people say it's really hard to do in VR. But you wave with your pinky, and it's a microwave. Get it? It's a microwave. You get it? Because it's your pinky waving, and your pinky's small. It's a microwave. It's a really silly one. I've never seen somebody use that seriously, but it is funny. Microwave. Hee hee. Yeah, that's a really great suggestion. Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments or anything at all? Yeah. Oh, well, are you thinking of this one? Oh, sorry. Oh, my index is struggling. Yeah, this is actually a VR chat slang. And it means bruh. Because you sign B, and then you have to twist for an R, a twist for R, and then a U and an H. So it's like signing bruh really, really quickly. Bruh. This was totally a VR chat made sign. I've never seen any deaf person in real life use this sign. Same with Pog. Yeah, Party Bass. Pog. Pog. P-O-G. Pog. Very much a gamer thing. Same with LOL. Does anyone actually know why we signed this? Can anyone tell me why we signed LOL like this? Where it came from? You want to take a guess, Cosmic?
Isn't because it's a similar sign for laughing?
Well, yeah.
Or,
So
like,
laughing
literally
is
the
actually
exact
like it's not exactly the same. This is laughter in ASL, but this is actually pulled from something. This actually does mean something in a different sign language. Can
I did not know
somebody guess? No, nobody. So back in the ye old days, in like January of 2019, we only had like 6 deaf people in our community, and it was very much just a friend group. And one of those people was a deaf person from France, and we started to realize that because we can't hear each other laugh most of the time, it was actually kind of hard to understand if people were laughing or not unless they like, ha, 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 oh, that's so funny, which feels a bit forced. So this person who's a deaf person from France said, well, in French Sign Language, this is how we say laughter. This is laughing in French Sign Language. This is actually the sign. So we just adopted it from French Sign Language. Fun fact. So if you go to France and you sign this to a deaf person, you're actually just saying laughter. But we adopted it and made it mean LOL, or like laughing out loud, like haha, that's so funny. And then it evolved even more to the point where people are lazy and just sign it with one hand and are like ha ha ha, ha ha ha. But of course, now that we have facial tracking, it's much easier if somebody's just like ha ha ha, that's so funny, and they laugh with their face. But of course, at the beginning of this community, we didn't have that. So a little fun fact for you. Any other questions or comments or anything at all that I can help? Yeah.
Why couldn't you just use the ASL version?
I don't know. It felt a little silly. And whenever I say like laughter, it makes me feel like I'm telling somebody. I'm like, laughing. Like it feels a bit forced to say the word laugh. So I think that's why, because at the time there's only one French signer. So he's like, well, nobody else does French Sign Language anyway, so might as well. I don't know, it feels a little silly. I guess it is funny, in fact, that we just say LOL on text, even though it literally means I am currently laughing out loud. Like, if you actually think about it, it sounds really silly. Sorry. Sorry, I don't know why my heart's been acting really weird lately. Sometimes it'll just randomly like that. But anyways, yeah. Oh, great. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too, but I haven't had it diagnosed. They just said something's fucked up, and I'm like, thank you, American Healthcare. Anyways, do you guys have any other questions?
That's a
Perfect. Well, oh yeah, let's do. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce your name. But I'll answer yours, and then we can wrap up. V?
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
So
the
I
Z's
think
are silent.
sign
Okay.
but and then different, but I'm not sure
Mhm.
if this is different or like.
Yeah,
what's the
yeah.
difference
So,
between those?
so but and different are actually the same exact sign, and it's just showing two things moving apart because they're different. There are some people who sign but with their fingers inwards. Technically, that's not. It's not wrong, but it's just kind of like not like it's not used as commonly. At least in the West Coast, how I was raised, I've never signed but towards myself. So I've always signed it outwards. Yes, but and different. They're not different. Funny enough. Yeah, they're the same sign. That's a really great question, though. Yay. Okay, I think it's good time to take a photo. And if anyone else wants to chat after class, I'll stick around for a bit, but I really need a glass of water. My poor throat.